How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Hot Links, and I'm back with another book review. Do. See the girls in the background? They're playing in the snow while I'm doing book reviews. That's how it's supposed to be done. Fun on a snow day, right? But with no further ado, I will not hold you any longer than I have to. Today's book review is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This has been in my collection for eons. I let so many people borrow this book. You could tell how tattered and bruised it is, highlighted. And I wanted to talk about this book because we have a problem with staying in the now. Anxiety is caused by time traveling in your mind through the future to events unforeseen. You're predicting the outcome of them. You're not necessarily sure how those future events are going to occur. And you're dwelling on them, and that creates anxiety in your body. You're bifurcating between now and the future. Depression is your time traveling in the past with your mind, and you keep thinking of events that happened, something that should have went a different way, or situations you wish you could change, but you can't because it's the past. So you get stuck in that state of self-deprecating. So now you have people who have depression and anxiety, and they recapitulate between those two psychological conditions. Thus, that permeates through our culture immensely. So what he talks about in this book particularly is staying in the power of the now. Anchoring yourself in the moment, using all five senses to really calculate and absorb the environment around you. And the best way for doing that is staying in the now. Watch the mind. The mind, the soul, and the body are three separate entities if we want to go to a spiritual philosophy and talk about that in that context. The mind is built on self-destruction. It always wants to destroy itself. That's just how the mind's built atomically. I can't explain why. I'm sure there's some scientific articles that you can go and research and see why the mind's set up the way it is. And the watcher is you. Terence McKenna said something, half the time you think most of the time you think you're thinking, you're really listening to your own thoughts. Now, what he was talking about with the watcher is watch your thoughts. The thoughts that you think aren't you. You know, it's an amalgamation of your subconscious, your conscious mind pulling from your subconscious and whatever's resonating in your past and the future and the memories you've collected as a human being, etc., etc. And when you're going through life, you're deciphering all of this on a lower level or higher level, however you want to think about it. You're deciphering the stuff on a lower level, and sometimes repressed things or things we desire or things we keep bottled in resonate and become thoughts or ideas or they just recapitulate as a theme, and you get caught on them, but they're not you. You don't have to pay attention to them. That's what meditation is about. Meditation is about holding the space and letting go of whatever you don't need, and most of it you don't, and that's what's really good because it teaches you how to let go of your thoughts and don't entertain them. Don't give them focus. I like that. He also talks about pain being stored in the body, and how when you repress traumatic events, they become a part of who you are. And unless you go through the therapeutic help, or unless you seek help, or you do something within your life to help release that trauma, then it will always be persistent, and scenarios in your life will manifest that become representations of that trauma that you went through. He's talking about collective trauma from, like, the thing about women, how women, if we go through history, were responsible for language because they were the herbalists. They were the people concocting these meals that we were eating. So they had to know what herbs did what, which were seasoning, which were for poison, which were for dyes. They needed to know all of this. So the idea is that they were the first ones to come up with language. And since they're the ones that use language the most proficient, then it was a necessity to be able to communicate that. And how they went through that from being high powerful, if we want to go to both pre-colonialistic societies, if we want to go to ancient indigenous societies where It wasn't the pendulum swing between matriarch and patriarch. It was a mutual beneficial arrangement, like I'll do that in there, right? And how those types of societies flourish, not necessarily feminism, but a dualistic society with both sides embracing feminine energy. It's slightly different from feminism because that concept didn't exist yet. That came years later after the subjugation of women and when they were re-emerging and taking their power back, type of thing. But how the pain body is stored in women and how traumatic events throughout society can trigger those particular events, because traumatic events all throughout history, I'm not excluding any other body throughout history, but I feel like women had it the worst. So all that's stored in them. And I brought up a lot of points that women are powerful beings and the fact that they're emotional creatures, because emotional intelligence is a high form of intelligence that in our society you don't really like to acknowledge. But he talks about a lot of things in this book, and I feel like the power of now is just really, really good for our time period and where we're at in history, because it's so easy to get distracted by phones and social media apps, and we're really not communicating with each other like we should. Everything's slightly diluted to some sense, and being in the now helps us realize that the moment we live right now is the only moment we ever truly experience. What's happening tomorrow, what happened yesterday, it's already gone, or it hasn't happened yet. And only thing we'll ever experience is the now. Of what we experience is nothing but the now. So yes, it would be like, well, next Friday I get paid. But in that moment, next Friday, you will be in the now for that Friday. Let's not anticipate what happens now. Let's live in the now and enjoy the moment with our loved ones. The things we love to do, our creative ideas. Let's express them now, because we don't know what tomorrow holds. So that's why I really like the power of now, because we live in a culture that likes to kind of stray away from that. And if we could stay grounded, then we can better ourselves and better our community around us by staying focused on what's the most important things to us. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, our loved ones. The things that come free are the best. I know that's cliche, but it seems to be true from my experiences in life. So that's why I think this is a phenomenal publication from Eckhart Tolle. And if you're ever interested in getting into Eckhart Tolle, I suggest you start with The Power of Now. He has written a lot of phenomenal books, but this is one of my favorites. So yeah, that's why I think you should read The Power of Now. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. I appreciate you watching this book review amongst my other ones, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you were here with me, and I appreciate that. Peace.